You're listening to Fancy Ramen, a podcast about video games. This special episode, we're talking about our favorite games of 2017. I'm Neil.
I'm Lizzie.
I'm Cookie.
I'm Ray.
And I'm Scott.
Cookie.
What?
I'm turning it into a thing. I'm talking over everybody. Let's do this.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that we have cameras set up now, and we don't have lights yet, so this might look really shitty. We'll see what happens in post.
Well, think about it this way. It could look worse. We could be live streaming from that Vive camera.
And why aren't we? So are we streaming right now to
No.
nobody that knows we have something scheduled today?
No, we are not streaming this special episode. I think we're going to not be streaming for the next few weeks. Are we just going on hiatus? What's the plan?
Well, the regular podcast listener won't know the difference for at least a week because we have a backlog. And if you're watching this today, it is New Year's or New Year's Eve. But I don't know. We might just do an episode remotely when you're out of town. Where are you going again?
Hawaii.
Right. The privileged 1%. So are these tax cuts working out in your favor?
Oh, let's not get into that. I don't think they're working out in anyone's favor.
Except the 1%.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys aren't wealthy and rich? And why do I have you on
We
this
just
podcast?
make poor decisions.
What? Poor decision
When
for the
we
win.
should
YOLO.
be paying off his student loans, we're instead taking a trip. So,
Gotta live your life, though, too.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, like if you end up, this is maybe not the time to discuss life theory, but
It absolutely is, Neil.
if you're gonna be wealthy when you're 80, but your health isn't up,
Right.
like what are you gonna do? Are you gonna
Right.
just sit in your
You're
house
gonna
all
buy
day?
silicone knees with your extra money and that young child's liver from Panama, and you're good
Aw.
to go for another 20 years.
Damn.
That is sad.
It's dark,
but it's what
but
it's
let's wait until we're 80 to see how right I am.
Yeah, exactly.
So who wants to talk about their list, their favorite games of 2017 first?
Yeah.
Is your list long, Cookie?
Oh, my list is not quite as long as Neil's list.
I'm not going to talk
Oh.
about all of them.
I'm also not going to
just-
talk about all of them either. I'm trying to decide which ones I'll kind of want to parse down. I kind of just thought of, ooh, what did I play a lot of this year? All right, I'll just name all those right now. And then I'll figure out which ones are going to be like my top faves.
Yeah, I put everything on a list, and then I thought to myself, like, okay, now with this list, I can figure out what's better than what and take like a scientific approach on it. But then ultimately, I realized I wasn't like paying attention to anything past 3.
Well, I want to talk about some mentioned unmentionables.
Things that didn't make your list.
Kind of. They made my list, but they're not going to be discussed in very much detail.
Okay.
So first up is Horizon Zero Dawn. As a very strong game this year. I was very excited about it. But it had the one drawback of not being on the Switch. Actually, that's what I want to talk about right now. Nintendo.
Yeah.
They're like, this was their year? Was this
Yeah.
their year?
Well, they
I
came
know.
out with the Switch.
This was Nintendo's year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely
Solid
recovered from
lineup.
the Wii U.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the main reason I wanted to bring up Nintendo and this being their year is because you know a system's good whenever you play a game that's not on that system, your first thought is, man, this would be so great on that system. And like every
True.
time I plugged in anything that was not on the Switch, I'm like, man, love the Fractured Butthole. I really wish it was on the Switch. I wish I could just take it wherever I'm at. Why didn't the Vita do that?
You can't play all the PlayStation games on the Vita?
You can.
In theory, you could leave your PlayStation 4 on and use a Wi-Fi connection to then use
Connect.
your Vita to play off of your PlayStation 4, but the input lag would be so,
It's so awful.
yeah.
Oh.
Like, you can do it in your home perfectly fine, but I don't think
Traveling.
But you
really
can't do
leave
it
the
at work.
house. Yeah.
Ugh.
And if
I
you
thought that
can't
was the
game
whole
at work, what's the point?
Exactly.
I mean, you joke, but Cookie's been playing the Switch at work as well.
He
So.
I know.
has.
Yep.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'll get my steps in and play the Switch. Almost said Vita. But I guess so kind of like Horizon Zero Dawn. Great game. Like beautiful brand new IP. Was that 2017?
Yeah.
Sweet.
It was.
And like I understand now after waiting so long to play it cuz I picked it up Black Friday that this is why everyone was comparing it to Zelda. And I was like, yeah, this is good. But Zelda did something to me. It gave me just enough open world. Perverts. Stop that. It gave me just enough open worlds and it didn't clutter my map the way like Ubisoft clutters maps. And Guerrilla Games was Horizon Zero Dawn, wasn't it? But Horizon Zero Dawn does that same exact thing where you get the big waypoint tower that is moving, so it's really cool, but then it like puts all the little dots on your map and then you're like, go do this. Whereas the Breath of the Wild was just like, nah, you're good.
Yeah, you got to find it on your own.
Yeah.
You got to place your own stickers when you think it's interesting or of note. And then you find out like 40 hours in, what do you mean I only get 100 stickers? There's way more than
Oh,
that.
are you serious?
That really sucks.
Oh, wow.
So once again, sorry, I wanted to talk about some unmentionables, things that didn't quite make the list. Cuphead, as beautiful as it was, it didn't hook me for nearly as long as I would have hoped it would have.
It is
And-
challenging, but I don't know. Not addictive enough.
I think it falls prey to the fact that it released in 2017 when there are so many other games.
Right.
Like
That's
I can
true.
see if you're just an Xbox owner where your catalog kind of goes, falls short this year. You could play a lot of Cuphead and really appreciate it, but I didn't have the time to fight a boss 30 times to beat it. So I got to the second world and didn't get any further.
Yeah. I
Proud
don't
of
know
you for
how
getting to
far
the second
we even
world.
got. Yeah. Not that far.
Nope.
Do you have any desire to play that again later, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
We like argue a lot though when we play.
When it comes out on Switch, I'll be
Because
back
I'm
in
just
it.
like yelling at Cookie, jump over that or whatever. I don't know. I get mad. But then normally he's the one fighting the boss by himself, so. Because I usually die before then.
Do what I can, Coach. Do what I can. Did you have any unmentionables, Snail?
I think maybe. So I have a few, but they're going to be games everyone else will be talking about. So I won't mention those quite yet because I think maybe my top three are kind of controversial. But one that I don't think anyone will talk about or anyone's going to know about will be The Letter. That is a visual novel about a curse, and I think it could have been a lot higher if it just wasn't like an indie game. I guess you could say like it's a low budget. You could tell that multiple artists were working on it, so the art was never cohesive. Like the person designing the in-game sprites obviously had a completely different style compared to like the concept art that they used in the journals or the portraits that they would use for dialogue boxes or the in-game like high-res CG art. Like just the stark differences from each visual just was, I guess, like enough or like immersion breaking enough that made me really appreciate when someone is able to make like a very cohesive style like Persona 5. So I can't think of anything else that we won't talk about later though.
I guess I have an unmentionable Call of Duty. I don't know if it's top, but it actually was a good Call of Duty that came out this year. It's been fun.
Back to boots on the ground. It's the way it should be.
Yeah. And then the war mode is it's interesting. I like it. I like that there's like different stages and different like missions you have to accomplish.
And I guess for those who have not played Call of Duty and the war mode, it's usually about a 3 to 4 phase mission, 2 teams of 6. No, it's
8?
more. 8 probably.
8? No,
But-
12?
Mm.
No, 12. I don't know.
PvP.
Yeah, PvP. So 2 teams. One team's usually defending something, and the first wave is usually like capture point A, point B, or capture point A, and then it goes on to like build something at phase 2, escort something at phase 3. So, like, one of the missions is quite literally capture a house, build a bridge so your tanks can get to a payload of weapons, blow up the payload of weapons, escort the tanks so they can blow up the anti-air guns. And it's just a nice little crap. Those games can go for
Like change of pace, but yeah, they can go long, depending on if like your teams are pretty balanced.
And I would like to also mention that in Call of Duty, the matchmaking is beautiful.
Yeah,
Every lobby is so balanced. Brings
Yeah,
a
it's
tear to
been-
my eye.
it's been pretty good. Except when you run it, then it's like super difficult for me.
Yes.
Oh, so
'Cause
whoever's the
Cookies-
host, it actually weighs or
Right.
scales based on that.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I get to play with a bunch of noobs all the time. And then when I'm playing by myself, it's such a sweat fest.
Yeah. We're on different levels.
Scott, Ray, got any underliers?
I guess one unmentionable, technically it came out on the PS4 this year, would be Crawl. That was a fun game where there are 4 players in a dungeon and you're trying to escape with your humanity by killing the person who is human and stealing it. And then facing against the boss. And then if you win, you beat the boss as a human, then you escape. And then all the other players are doomed.
And for those who aren't familiar with Crawl, you can actually look back at the Fancy Ramen YouTube feed.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
'Cause
did we
You
do
get
a
to
let's
see
play?
Cookie kick our ass like repeatedly.
Selectively
Was I
giving
on
us
that one?
information. I think you are. Liz.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun game.
Oh yeah, these are
That-
traps. They'll
that's
kill
fine.
you.
You're already dead, but hey, you'll know for next time.
You'll know.
Cookie never dies the rest of the game.
Yeah. Never get a chance to be human again.
He's just played it
Um,
way too much.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I don't have any unmentionables, but I could say honorable mentions. I just finished,
Way to be PC.
like,
Right. That's
I
basically it.
know. I just finished last night Dishonored 2, and anyone who's played the first game absolutely should play the second one. It's more of a good thing. And I won't say much about it besides the fact that as a fan of the previous game, like, it's just really satisfying to see one of my favorite games done right again and diversified in its like level design and its mechanics to become like completely fresh, and yet all of the things that I liked about the first one remained at least somewhat consistent in the second game. Very nice to see that. I don't see too many games get sequels that are better than the first game and lose none of the qualities that made the first game what it was. Really cool level design. Man, I should talk about it sometime soon.
What is it? What
Yeah.
kind of game is it?
It is I think it's Arcane that develops it, and it's published by Bethesda, and it's a first person stealth game.
Oh.
Or you could say stealth action depending on how you approach it.
I want to play
But
it
we're
as an
talking
action
about-
RPG.
You kind of
yeah,
can.
It kind of is that. I don't know. It's just if you ever played stealth in Fallout or in an Elder Scrolls game and just thought like, I really like playing a stealth game, but it's not particularly rewarding in those RPGs, then Dishonored is like right up the alley for you. It's so good. It's some of the best stealth gameplay I've ever played. I consider it on par with like the older Metal Gear Solid games as far as stealth. And when we're talking about creative level design, there were so many cool things that happened with this one. There's a level where you're in a clockwork mansion, and every lever that you interact with in this mansion changes the physical layout or structure. There's another one where you get an item that allows you to jump back and forth between like the current timeline and a past timeline, and you're able to do it seamlessly within the game, and your actions in the past affect the future timelines, like physical space. A lot of really cool map building the more I think about it. Yeah, just really neat. Honorable mention.
So if that's your honorable mention, excuse me, what would you say your top 3 are?
So if I were to just list out my top 3, and I actually did end up ranking them, I'd say that Super Mario Odyssey was my game of the year, followed by Persona 5 and then Hollow Knight.
Nice.
Hollow Knight.
And I know that some of you guys, I know that actually most of you played Super Mario Odyssey, and I know that at least Neil and Cookie and I all had different levels of involvement in playing Persona 5. And by that I mean, Cookie, I don't know how far you ultimately got, but you put in some time.
I met my waifu and didn't want her to die like all my other waifus have in all the other games. So I met her, I saved her, and I stopped playing.
Wow.
That's a responsible choice. I
What's
will
the
say
last
Persona
one?
5 definitely has... Oh, the last one was
Yeah.
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. That
It was by far the best Metroidvania I've played in years, and one of the best games I played this year. That game is such a wonderful tribute to two of my favorite, I guess, like games and franchises, which is Metroid and Dark Souls. And it's this really great 2D action platformer where you play as this silent protagonist bug, the Hollow Knight. Or, well, you're not the Hollow Knight. I don't want to spoil anything. I should probably stop talking about this.
Oh
But
no!
anyway, you play as a silent protagonist bug in this just absolutely beautiful and really interesting world that's been, put together with really good minimalistic storytelling, gorgeous art, and really serene and engaging music at times. And so it's just like an absolute masterpiece in all of the elements of game design coming together in what I consider, it's an indie game for sure. It's probably not nearly as small time as what many people picture for a standard indie game. Like, it has enough content to keep you playing for 20 plus hours, but it was just a wonderful game. Excellent controls, and the type of environment and exploration that just makes you keep like chipping further and further away at exploring your environment and understanding characters and, really customizing your approach to how you engage in the world.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Sorry, I'm passing along video.
Ferocious foes.
Oh man,
great.
yeah. Oh, it's super
It's-
cute at
yeah,
times, and
yeah.
other
the art's
times
pretty.
it's like really grim. And that's the other thing. Like, it just has so many juxtapositions that are really enthralling to someone like me who's played a lot of games, where I've just been really excited about good characters in a good game, because you don't necessarily need good characters to have a good game. And
Right.
that was one thing I kept really enjoying and being amused by as I progressed further and further into this game.
Is it on PlayStation?
I would assume so. I get it on PC. I'm almost certain you can get it on Xbox as well, so it should be available on PlayStation.
Actually, why get it for PlayStation when you can buy it for Nintendo Switch?
Oh
yeah, it's
So
gonna
it
release
is
on
on
the
Switch.
Switch, and it's gonna be amazing.
Oh wow.
Gonna get that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. And they put out some free DLC, and I think they have some paid DLC coming out soon too. And that's very interesting as well. Lots of like extra content after you beat it too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I love
What a
my
great game.
platformers, so.
I can't pick it up until I play Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, probably not. This game made me learn to love bugs.
Aw.
Gross.
If it can do that, it can do anything.
It can
so that's
do
my number 3. And we'll talk about Persona 5 probably in another person's list looking at the docket. So all I can say is that that game could not have been made for any other year than 2017, at least for an American audience. It is way too on the nose about things that are going on in like society and the general zeitgeist of our times.
Since
And
we've talked about it so much in past episodes, maybe we don't have to go too far into it. I did want to say
great
that
too.
I agree with you entirely. Like, I was gonna call this my game of the year, despite like the flaws that Persona 5 has, purely because it's a game about basically turning people like Trump into like people with conscious.
Just normal people.
Yeah.
Normal people.
It's definitely like a stereotypical power trip in ways, which like I feel guilty enjoying, but it's the message of the game that I can't get over, I guess.
Yeah, it is the only game I can think of this year that made me feel hopeful in a way that was not relevant to my identity as a gamer or my relationship to the game, but like genuinely as a person felt a positive emotion like completing a game, which is not something that I ever expect out of, what is a big hobby in my life, but not necessarily something that I think impacts my personality or character or mental being very frequently.
So Super Mario Odyssey is your top one, and looking at our list we have on Google Dockets, I actually don't see that game on anyone else's at number 1.
And that's because I'm the professional. My thought process behind Super Mario Odyssey being number 1 was ultimately the 3 games I mentioned beforehand, my honorable mention and my other 2 on the list, are all games that I adored, that I thought were wonderful and felt almost tailor-made for me, depending on like whatever genre it occupied. I felt like it was the best within that genre, and those are genres that I like to play, the stealth games and the Metroidvania games, and not really JRPGs, but Persona has a very special place in my heart. And so each one of them scratched like a very particular itch as a gamer. And Mario games aren't really actually my thing, but Mario Odyssey was just so perfect that I couldn't poke a hole in it, and I couldn't come up with any reason why I wouldn't recommend it to any person. It is accessible and yet has a skill cap that is beyond human at times for the really difficult final puzzles and moons. It's a gorgeous game. The soundtrack is so catchy and exciting, and just everything coalesces into this like perfect product. And I don't know if I have ever had a game that I've been able to sit down, and this is also to the benefit of the Switch, like dock my Switch onto my television and have people watch me play it for like hours and talk and like cheer and laugh with me as I'm playing a game. Like, it truly was such a joyous experience start to finish, and it was so good at that people who weren't even playing the game, who didn't have a controller in their hands, really enjoyed and drew from that experience. And I thought that was just the coolest thing, and something that I've never really had replicated in a game before. Granted, I will say I've played games with other people present, like watching. Sierra and I played all of Persona 5 together, and that was fun. But it was a very distinct experience from that. It was something where instead of one other interested party was involved, people were just being drawn in by how fun or exciting or interesting that the gameplay looked. And Mario's so accessible that I think that really speaks to how good this game was as well. Like, it's It just doesn't disappoint in any way whatsoever, and it has that major strength of also being on the best console of this generation.
Bold words.
Bold.
They're bold words, but this is the first time I think I've owned a Nintendo system and bought most every major title that's come out for it.
Oh.
And not only been like satisfied, but like super hyped for everything that's coming out in the future for it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't name a single time I've owned any system that I've bought all of the headlining games for it and thought for every single purchase, like, yes, this was a good choice.
Does that mean you bought Xenoblade Chronicles too?
Yo, that's no.
Great voice acting.
I have a question for you, Scott.
Yeah, go for it. Can I just quickly plug, though, that I will never buy a Xenoblade game after playing so many dirty-ass shulks in Smash 4 on the Wii U? I'm tired of that shit. All right, go ahead, Ray.
Okay. So what do you think of the motion controls for the Switch?
They're good. I thought I was having issues initially, and then it just seemed to be when I had it in the handheld mode, it wasn't great. And I don't really expect the motion controls to be that great in the handheld mode where you have both controllers docked onto the Switch's screen. And when it comes to aiming in something like Breath of the Wild, like its precision is really quite good. It was just in Mario I couldn't throw my hat upwards, and that's the single issue I've had with the motion controls. And that's it for the motion controls. Like, I don't think I've had a single other issue, and I am normally really nitpicky about that because I was never a fan of the Wii or the Wii U's motion controls.
I definitely think the precision helps a lot with the motion controls on the Switch. Like with Breath of the Wild, when you're aiming and you just need like a little bit, like just a little adjustment, that was perfect, that you could just tilt it just slightly and then you're right on the mark.
So much better than an analog stick, right? Like,
yeah, that
you're
was
just
nice.
So much less likely to overshoot or overcorrect when you're doing it. So, what's the word? It's so intuitive to just do it in a physical space as opposed to using an analog stick to try and replicate that motion.
Are the two of you using like a combination of the analog stick to do like your major aiming and then using the motion control to do the fine aiming?
Yes.
Yeah, that works
That's generally
too.
what I do. Yeah, because that's...
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, the analog sticks gives you more motion, so you're not like swinging your hands around.
Exactly. You don't want to be spinning in the room.
Right.
Yeah. But it is very nice for just, the little fine tunings, because sometimes the analog, you can just over or under, and it's really easy.
I don't know if I even had mine turned on when I was playing. I didn't know
Oh,
that
you
had,
should.
they
Breath of the
had
Wild?
that. Yeah.
It's automatic, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know if you can turn it off.
We took our time to actually turn it off because the most times that we played Breath of the Wild, we were in vehicles.
Yes, that was the only thing I was going to
That'll do
say.
it.
And Scott mentioned the handheld version, so yeah, I would agree with that. Like on the road and traveling and stuff, like I love the Switch and I love how portable it is. But the motion controls just aren't easy when you're traveling.
And
like, I remember I was in I was actually
that's
going
why
to the Eclipse.
I was trying to play Zelda in the car, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to the Eclipse and I was like, God, why am I aiming so terribly? Like, I don't think I'm this bad at aiming. And then I figured it out, because the motion
Right.
controls.
Internally, your accelerometer is like freaking out. What is this?
What is this?
This kid's swinging his arms 60 miles an hour. And he won't stop. Yeah. I played almost all of Super Mario Odyssey with the motion controls. I like
Okay.
them
Nice.
that much.
Okay.
Honestly, Cookie and I, for a lot of games, pretty much turn off the motion controls initially.
We're
I
too
did
classic.
for Splatoon 2 because I
Yeah,
just felt like they were
Splatoon is
more
awful.
awkward.
Yeah.
Like that one, it wasn't as much like, I don't think you could do it in combination with the analog stick. It was like either
No,
motion control
yeah.
or
It,
nothing.
it had to be in
It's
combination
very
with analog
hard.
stick.
Oh, dude.
It was a
Wasn't
little
it-
bit for your view, but not for like your aim, I think, because you would change your view camera, but not like.
Oh yeah, because it's
where
a
you were.
third-person shooter.
Isn't
And
it based on like the y-axis is the only thing that's adjusted by
The,
motion control?
Yes.
But
No,
not your-
You can
Oh.
you can
It's like some more.
aim it right or left with the motion controls.
I
as
think
well.
most people just used it for Y-axis
Uh,
for the classic Splatoon, and that's what they really liked, using that for Y, and then your joystick for X.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to turn it off. It's very, very difficult to play with just with
You
like
play
motion
with
controls
it?
and
It's really
the
hard.
yeah,
Oh my
that's,
God.
That's why I wasn't very good when we played together. I was like
Oh,
getting
that's why?
motion sickness after a while.
Oh, don't mind me. It's the controller. It's not. Gosh darn it. Well, so it's safe to say then that Breath of the Wild is your game of the year.
Yes, it is. Yes. I was very impressed with almost every aspect of Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's brought a lot of aspects to a Zelda game that we have never seen before. I mean, the art was beautiful. The graphics were gorgeous. I really was impressed by the details of it. And then it had a lot of like customizations and like different things like the outfits, the different outfits that you could wear that had different like power-ups, and that turned out to be extremely helpful too. And then even to like the durability of the weapons, which just posed an extra challenge. Like when I would go up against the Lynels, which I think were the hardest like creatures to fight, it would just like wipe out my weapon inventory, and then it'd be like, okay, well, like how can I strategize now? Because I got the Lynel sword, which is really powerful, but that's like it. And it changes your strategy too for fighting. Like you don't want to hit shields, so you have to like time your strikes better. And I was impressed with the fighting style too. I mean, definitely the flurry attacks, like if you could dodge in the right moment, helped extremely with fighting. And then like you could do shield bash, and then the arrows too. Like I thought, you know, the hand motion controls helped with aiming, and so I was really impressed with even shooting, and then the different arrow types, like different things like that. It was very different. And then even too, like with the kind of like the side quests, so like the Great Fairy Fountain, and that you could upgrade your outfits. It made me feel a lot better about my hoarding of all my items. Like, I do need 50 Lazard's tails. Like, yes, I'm so glad I kept those. And the exploration, too, I think we touched on that a little bit. It felt very natural to just be like, that looks interesting. Like, I could just go over and check it out. And then probably there's something going on over there. To Korok seeds or shrines or, like, extra villages or side quests, whatever. So it was very interactive in that way too, which I was impressed with. And then the puzzles too, I liked the puzzles. I thought that the dungeons were kind of different. Like instead of doing like temples and you just had the ancient creatures, where it was all puzzle and not very much fighting. But I liked that aspect too, so it was a little bit different. And then the shrines. So I did cheat a little bit, a couple times in the shrines, because it wasn't very strict, I guess. You know those, I forget what they're called, Auroch, I think, balloons that you get when you kill the things in the rivers that like shoot seeds at you. So a couple times I didn't know how to like get to this key to get to the treasure to like move on. So I just put a whole bunch of balloons on like a crate that was in there, and then like jumped into the thing that was behind the key, and it worked, but I couldn't get out again. But then I just warped to that same shrine again, and then it like still counted it. So I mean, it worked out perfect. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You call it cheating. I call it
That's
Zelda
called
being
playing
Zelda.
the game.
I only knew of one other way to cheat, like and it might be a certain shrine, but it was one where like an orb or ball would drop into a little maze.
Oh my God. And you would just flip it over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I did that. Yeah. Like, it was literally impossible to like do the maze the other way. Like I was having so many issues. So
I did the maze the
saw
right
that
way.
was cheated. Wow. Good for you, Cookie.
Oh yeah, that one. I think you were telling me to flip it
Just
over.
flip it over. I got
But I
tired
was
of
like-
watching you. I was like, Lizzie, just flip it over. Just flip it over. It's fine.
That was another thing. The motion controls did get a little bit awkward with that maze, because I remember like I would try like tilting it to get it, the ball moving, and then it felt like the main part would get off. So then I'd be tilting it like this to like try to get it to move, and it just didn't work out.
I've restarted Breath of the Wild recently, and I got to that temple, and I just hit the A button with the console upside down, and then after hitting A or whatever to start that control, then you flip it right side up, and then it's upside down for you.
Nice.
So that,
Okay.
Look at you being all smart.
and then you just get to fling the ball
like,
over.
Yeah.
So that's always fun.
Oh yeah, I would get it to the part too, but then just the flinging didn't. It would go everywhere. But overall, I was very impressed. It was a beautiful game, and it was a good amount of time. I felt like I got my money's worth, definitely.
Nice.
You could dig it.
I feel like I didn't play it enough. I just haven't had too much time this year, but with open worlds and in games that you can collect things, it's going to take me forever to beat it because I'm going to be collecting all the apples in the tree and I don't know, getting all the fish in the pond and searching every nook and cranny.
That comes in handy later.
Yeah.
Apples super good for recipes. Oh, because you get to cook as well.
I know. Yeah,
and
that's
get different
fun.
Effects.
Yeah.
And then also for upgrading your armor. Yeah, definitely good.
Wait, apples to upgrade your armor?
Oh, no.
I was about
For
to say, I don't
cooking.
remember apples
Cooking.
upgrading your
But
armor.
then the other
yeah,
things, like the fish.
Right.
I had a heck of a time trying to get fish to upgrade my freaking Zora armor.
You don't fish in that game, right? You just jump into the water and catch them by hand?
Yeah, well, what I would do is shoot a lightning arrow into the water, and then it kills all the fish,
in the
in
area.
a pretty good sized area, and then you just jump in and go and collect them. Made it way easier.
Nice.
Because the dash in the water is pretty slow.
Yeah, it
so
sucks.
it's hard to catch.
And I was
fish.
catching, I'm in the beginning of the game still, so I don't have any fancy arrows, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm swimming after them.
Okay, you don't need them that early.
But that's my problem is I have this need to collect everything, and even with MMOs, Cookie gets mad at me because I'm like, oh, there's a plant over here. And he's like, Lizzie, we're in the middle of a boss fight. Knock it off.
I don't get angry. I just try to keep you on task because there's nothing worse than being in an area where everything's going to one-shot you and then you're going off by yourself. No, please stop.
I really wish you guys could play the Destiny 2 raid and just see how frustrated the two of you would get. But
we have yet to do that, actually. We've
One of these days, maybe.
We've been talking about it and haven't done it yet.
But speaking of Breath of the Wild, it's also on my list. And out of everything you mentioned, one thing you didn't mention that I really liked, physics.
Yes, yeah, those were very impressive. Yeah,
How can you-
shooting arrows and jumping and
Flying cars, right? Just flying cars.
what?
You don't know?
What?
You don't.
Oh wait, is this where you put stasis, which is another thing I didn't mention, on a rock and then hit it a whole bunch and then jump on it and then it goes
No.
woo? Oh, okay.
No, you take
it's
you take a metal cart from the volcano area.
Oh,
Put
yeah.
it on top of a metal cart from the volcano area.
Put
jump,
what on top? You yourself.
No,
on a metal
another
cart.
metal cart. You
Oh.
put them in sideways, and then you grab with the magnet. You grab the bottom
one
metal
under.
cart.
Oh my god.
Flying cars.
there was another contraption
to do
someone
that.
made too that I'm trying to remember.
There were a lot of.
There was a
weird
lot, yeah.
things.
If you look it up on YouTube, there's so
If
many
anything, you should just watch the speed run. Just watch the speed run.
Okay.
It's about an hour, and half of it is on the first plateau, just because you can't really skip a lot of that.
Right. Yeah,
But
but there's a
it's-
lot that you can skip.
Oh, but
yeah,
it's so
there's
beautiful.
a ton,
It's so beautiful. Just the things they do. You
It's
just
I don't
gotta.
even think you need to get all the divine beasts to be Ganon. They help. They reduce his first health bar by half, but
Yep.
if you could even skip those and then
Oh yeah. No, they literally just skipped everything. It's beautiful.
They
you just have
came
to
at
watch
him
it.
with a stick.
Quite literally.
I do want to ask then how you felt about Ganon, how you felt about the last boss.
Calamity.
Yeah,
Ganon.
Calamity Ganon.
Was he
yes,
easy?
excuse me.
Oh, Calamity Ganon? He
Yeah.
was kind of a pushover comparatively
Really?
to
I
everything
was
else.
a little a little disappointed by that fight. Just especially like the Ganon that was all the hate and deceit and everything in his final form, his beast form, was extremely easy. Like he just ran around on the horse and shot arrows at the glowing points, and then he was done. But then even the first one, I was pretty confused during the fighting, because like after I got him down to like a quarter health, I think, then he did like a force field around him. And sometimes I would be able to hit him with the force field, but sometimes I wouldn't. And I was like, what is the determining factor here? So that was just a little confusing, but he was easy enough that I didn't even figure it out, and I still beat him. So that was just one thing I was a skosh disappointed in.
I could dig it.
And also, this happened about 40 hours in, and I had like 30 Korok seeds that I had built up, and I was so excited to expand my inventory. And then there was a glitch, and I lost all of them.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, did you ever get those back?
No, I never did. But you know the loading page where it shows like everything that you have so far. It has like your orbs that you collected in the shrines and Korok seeds. That one was still correct. So I thought like, well, maybe it'll just glitch back and maybe I'll just get them back because it has the correct count on here. But I never got them. And I'm disappointed because I was reading about the DLC, which I'm going to get to. But I heard that you need like almost all the Korok seeds to do that DLC. And I'm like, well,
would you have to go
am I
back?
going to redo it? Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know.
Yeah, it's a fun playthrough. This was a game that quite literally, the reason it made the top of my list is because I beat it, even though I beat it out of spite, it actually wasn't any kind of work for me to beat the game.
Well, it's hard for Cookie to actually play through an entire game to its
Ouch.
end. Well, it is.
You make me sound so special.
Kind of sounds like we're having an intervention.
Well, a lot of times he'll play a game for a long time, and then
New
he'll
shiny
just
will come out.
something else will come out, and he'll just completely drop the other game, and he doesn't hardly ever really finish games.
That was one of my goals for 2017 was to finish more games. And I finished more games this year than I did last year or the year before put together.
He finished Doki Doki. I mean,
I finished Doki Doki.
that's a grind fest for the first 2 hours, too.
Oh my God, that was so boring. If you haven't heard, Doki Doki Literature Club is a game.
I have not heard.
Yes.
You know what? Let's let her play it because it's free.
Oh yeah,
wonderful.
that's that one, right?
Yeah, you'll
That's
have to come
that
over here.
one.
You'll just
yeah.
have to come here while we're at work and just play it on this because it's. I'll have to uninstall it and reinstall it. Never
Yes.
mind. Okay.
I did forget to mention one thing about Breath of the Wild that I liked, that I wanted to talk about just quick, was the character development. I was pretty impressed with how they talked about Zelda's like journey. Like if you go through and unlock all the memories and then like read her journal and the King's journal and stuff, it talks about like how she struggled to like find her powers and how the pressure to save the kingdom weighed down on her a lot, and how she was trying to pursue some of her passions like with the ancient technology and stuff, but she was kind of more forbidden to do so because she only had to focus on like getting her sealing power, which was actually stifled before Link was like in the process of saving her, and then she unlocked it. But I was pretty impressed with that story as well.
That's good. I'm glad that you were impressed with that story. I just wanted her to shut up. Like the voice acting. Her voice acting was so bad.
Yes, that was really not very impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I liked the story arc of it.
That's good. I didn't collect any of the memories.
You know-
I beat the game out of spite, okay?
Tiffany's usually like the naysayer. She actually was perfectly fine with the voice acting.
Really?
What?
It's so weird.
Yeah. She also said, though, that I think it was something along the lines that this is her favorite Zelda in terms of a character out of all the games so far.
Yeah.
So
Well,
'Cause she's
this
actually
is
more of
the
a
most
person.
developed Zelda. Like she's human in this game.
Right.
She exists for more
not
than 3
just-
scenes.
Yeah, she's not just a part of the mythos like all of the other games.
I mean, I like
Yeah.
the Zelda from Twilight Princess. Oh wait, that's Midna. My bad.
Yeah, that's not even Zelda. I was gonna
I like the one that's not Zelda at all.
That's such a lit down when you have to say goodbye to Midna at the end of that game. Oh,
That was sad. She was awesome.
Yeah, truly. Like she was just an upgrade from the from having Tattle in Majora's Mask, like the cheeky sidekick. Like Navi was always supportive.
That's right, the fairy.
And Tattle's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I fucking hate you, but I've got to
Yeah.
follow you around to get to my brother, so let's do this.
Right.
And Midna's more just like sly, hanging out. You don't really know why she's helping you, and she's also not particularly nice to you. And yet, it always makes for some fun like dialogue. It's always entertaining.
So what was your second game?
My second one, I forgot. What does it say?
Pocket Camp.
Oh yeah, Animal Crossing. Yeah. So Nintendo also came out with a like a game on iOS and Android and everything, Google, and it has a miniature version of Animal Crossing. I never played Animal Crossing on the GameCube, which I guess is the first one, but this is a pretty cute version. Where you just set up a campsite for visiting animals, and basically you have to cater to all the animals' whims and wishes. Like you get them stuff, although they do pay you in return, so you just have to go around and get them things, and then before they'll come to your campsite, they have like a list of demands and like furniture that you have to build, because they're like, I like my campsite a certain way.
Wow.
My favorite is like when like at the beach you can get different things, so like coral or fish or whatever. And my favorite is like when an animal is there and they're like, can you give me a coral piece? And they're like literally standing right next to one. Like, yes, I can get you that. But it's pretty fun, and it's the same thing. Like you can customize your campsite, and then you have a camper too, which the first time I went into my camper, it blew my mind because I had no idea that you could go into it. And so you can customize all that, and then you with your camper, you can like expand it or change the paint on it, and so you can also get out loans and stuff, and it's pretty fun. You can do, again, different outfits and stuff, although they don't have special abilities, but it's pretty fun game, a fun way to pass the time, so I thought I'd throw that on my list.
It's the convenience factor then that like you value most about it.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, because, when I'm at work and I'm a little bored.
Right.
Just open it up, yeah.
I miss those days.
Gaming at work.
Mainly
Wait, why are we posting this?
Yeah, I don't really ever do that.
Well, Cookie, since we covered your number one in Breath of the Wild, what was your number two and number three?
2 and 3. You know what? I'm going to switch it up.
Ah.
I'm going to give you the rest of the list instead.
What?
So officially after Breath of the Wild, like my list kind of just evolved into these are the games I've played. And actually, no, I will put Mario at number 2. Odyssey, just
Oh.
like Scott said. This was also a game that it didn't actually take me any kind of effort to actually beat. I made it to the dark side of the moon, Scott.
Nice. Did you make it to the darker side of the moon?
Let's not get
Overzealous?
let's not go too far into it.
So
but I did make it to the dark
The
side.
the
You
dark
didn't
side of the
beat
moon
the
sucks,
game.
but the darker side of the moon is absolute hell. But it's also really, it's the most challenging level in the game, which makes sense because to unlock it, I think you need 500 moons.
I'm almost there.
And it's very exciting, but so horribly punishing at the same time. Like that is a level that's built for players that are more skilled than I am at
It's
platformers.
the Dark Souls
or
of Mario.
I'm just
Super
surprised.
hard.
It's one of those things where it's like you go so long and you're like, there's got to be a checkpoint, and then you find out that there's no checkpoint. There never was a checkpoint. There's never going to be a checkpoint. And you're just like, oh God, but I'm sweating and my heart's beating too fast, and I can't I can't be this clutch for this long. It's tough.
I'll get
Nice.
there. I've been slightly picking it up between things while I'm at work, which is how I got to the dark side of the moon. So, on top of that, I'm gonna skip over Persona 5 because I'm pretty sure we're gonna talk a little bit more about that when we get to Neo's list. Mario Rabbids actually made it on my list.
What?
I'm sorry. Hi, I liked that game.
Why?
It was good.
Which one was it? Did
It
I
was the
play it?
SOCOM of Mario. It was the real-time strategy.
You know the one where
Oh.
Luigi dabs?
No.
Yeah,
does
he
not.
dabs.
He does.
He dabs.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Okay. It's that one with like the cubes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Fine. No,
Well, I haven't played it. I just didn't. You haven't played. I haven't seen you play it that much, though.
not in a while.
Oh.
Game's old. There was like 7 games since then.
Okay.
Had to play my Call
Cool.
of Duty since then.
I know.
So you like the crossover?
Mhm.
Have you ever played any games with rabbits in it before?
Hell no.
Maybe.
I think I won a game from you in Ubisoft that was.
And I think that's the only
rabbits and
time-
The TV.
I think that's
I
the
thought it was
only
pretty fun.
time I would have played a Rabbids game. I tend to
Yeah.
avoid those. But this
Yeah.
is less of a Rabbids game and more of like a...
Mario.
No, it's not even a Mario game, honestly.
It's XCOM except no one actually dies.
Except for all the people that died.
Do people die in that game,
It's
or
not-
is it just a matter of, oh, I got knocked out, I need to sit out for this fight?
It's a matter of, oh, I got knocked out. I decided to this fight. But man, when they get knocked out and they got to sit out for that fight, it's so much tougher. But the reason that game actually made it onto my list is because even though it is a Mario game and a Rabbids game, it's such a different take on that entire like
Genre?
ecosystem.
You mean the ecosystem that is XCOM or that is Mario? Like,
Basically. Just think of a Kingdom Hearts XCOM.
no.
Nope.
So was the story interesting, or what was it that hooked you? The gameplay?
Gameplay, maybe. Mainly. Not maybe. But yeah, gameplay mainly was kind of like where I was at. And yeah, the story was okay. I do like the fact that Nintendo kept with the continuity this year and Rabbids being the main enemy of Mario and the gang.
But not Rabbids.
Well, Rabbids are kind of rabbits.
So is Mario Odyssey like the revenge that the Mario team had against Ubisoft?
Maybe.
It's like, holy shit, we hate this game. Time to make all of our crappy villains. Not crappy within the sense of like they're not well designed, but like symbolic for their dislike. What was that game well received in Japan?
SOCOM of Rabbids?
Yeah.
No clue.
Hmm.
You'll have to check on that. And last game I really want to talk about is another game that's kind of got a lot of squares in it and all fighty. The Fractured Butthole.
I wondered if that would be on your list.
Oh my god, the game was so good. Just
It
Just-
was kind of fun. I only played it a little bit, but I did
You played
enjoy
it?
Yeah, but you forced me to.
sweet. I did.
Yeah.
Nice. Go me. High five me. Yeah. It was nice to wander around South Park again and actually have more of a fleshed out story. I can't really say more of a fleshed out story because I didn't beat the other one.
See? See?
But the other one was last year. I also didn't beat this one, but that's not the point.
Do the jokes get more consistent? Because it felt like it took a while before we got any real good singers when we were playing it.
Yeah, it gets much better, especially as the world builds itself out. So it's like the first time when you pick your gender and the rednecks come beat you up, it's like, okay, well, the rednecks come to beat you up. You're like, okay, I guess that happened. And then you go back to talk to Mr. Garrison again, and then you're picking your sexuality. Then the rednecks come back again. It's like, how dare you be cisgender? I'm like, I'm sorry.
That's like no. Yeah, well, yeah.
And then it's like, then you go back again. And they're like, how dare you do this? I forgot what I ended up being. I was like an African American, Irish, cisgendered female something.
Also Orthodox Jew.
I wonder. Okay, so I wonder
this
if
time.
they would beat you up if you were a straight white male.
I didn't
Doubt
get that
it.
far with my black character.
Huh.
Didn't get far enough
This is
to.
a question for the audience, I guess.
I mean, I kind of hope so, just to increase the perplexity of these fabled rednecks. But
True.
at the same time, doesn't it kind of lose its effect by
Right.
not having them? Yeah. I don't know.
Either way, it was a fun romp around South Park for what I actually did. I actually need to play and beat the first one, so that way I get the underlying story of why my family's in hiding.
I don't think you know that in Stick of Truth either, though. I think they kind of just wrote that in to this game.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel a little better because my father is not happy that my mother was telling everyone that I was a girl at the very beginning of the game. They confirmed my gender because the first game you can't choose boy or girl, so you're just automatically a boy. So the second game you can actually choose, and they acknowledge the fact if you choose that you're a girl throughout lines in the game, like what's her name? Who Stan goes out with?
Wendy?
Wendy. She comes along at points of the game. She's like, I knew that entire time you were a girl. Why did you have to hide it for so long? And just things of that nature.
Ah, interesting.
And like I think I remember the mom saying something like, "Well, now that everyone knows you're a girl," or something.
Pretty much. But yeah, so that kind of hits my list. More or less.
Who hasn't gone yet?
Me.
So what topped 2017 for you, Lizzie?
Okay, well, I feel kind of bad for what I'm going to say because I didn't have a whole lot of time this year to really play games. So I'm basically rating what I played the most of, I would say. And I feel like I didn't have enough time to dedicate to like Mario Odyssey or Zelda or whatever. So I feel like my answer is pretty generic, but I would say my top game this year is Destiny 2.
If it makes you feel any better, that's not actually a very generic answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of all the other stuff that's come out?
Because of all the things that's happening in the Destiny community right now.
Oh, what's happening?
The bad PR.
See, I haven't even been playing recently.
So they recently had an event,
Okay.
and they definitely locked that event behind a paywall.
Oh, I didn't even know this.
You have to pay to play?
No, you don't have to pay to play. So the event comes with like special Ingrams. I forget what the Ingrams are called. We're just going to call them loot boxes anyway. So the event comes with special event loot boxes, and the event comes with like a shit ton of items that you can unlock, but you have to get these special loot boxes. The event's running for 3 weeks. Well, is in the middle of running, but only running for 3 weeks. And every week you can unlock like, I think it's like 3 or 4 of these special loot boxes. So there's no way you can get everything. At all. Unless you buy said
So
special
people
loot boxes.
are... Yeah.
So I believe it's the Bungie forums / the subreddits. You have to scroll like, one account was like 15 pages before you saw a thing that wasn't about take down the Eververse.
Oh, wow.
And just before this, they were caught.
Throttling XP.
Yeah.
Oh, I did hear that. Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, that's why your pick is not very unique. I mean,
or
not very
it
generic
is unique.
because
Oh,
everyone's
Dang
just like
because I haven't
yeah.
been playing lately.
So I know you've been out of the mythos of the news and all that jazz, but I kind of hear about it every once in a while on different podcasts.
But, I mean, putting that aside, Destiny 2 is what Destiny 1 should have been. It's a good loot shooter. It seems like they're actually attempting to tell a story that's not hidden away on a website.
No,
yeah, like
they,
I enjoyed it.
they
and-
learned a lot.
Yeah. And I like games where I can play with other people and then being able to do like the story mode with other people. I like doing that and stuff. So I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed messing around in the like bases, unlocking the secret crap, and I don't know, I had a lot of fun. playing
Dancing,
it.
emotes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that Instagram post.
Yes. Like literally one time we were like playing and we were in the lobby. I forget the Traveler. We were at the Traveler, and there's this guy like doing this sprinkle salt emote, and there was like literally a line, and we would all like line up and like bow and get sprinkled on, and then the next one would go, and it was like, I don't know, just stupid shit like that is just, I don't know, it's so fun. So, and it's actually Call of Duty has a lobby area now where people can hang out, and a lot of people mess around on that too. And I just think it's, I don't know, part of gaming. It's fun to just do that stuff, I think. So,
Mess around in a stress-free zone in a game that's all about stressing you out with trying to kill things.
Right. And then
That
they
is why
put
I'm
little like almost like party favors or little like games within the game, if that makes sense. I like
This
that.
is totally why I'm convinced that Dark Souls is actually the perfect game for Lizzie. Silent, player-to-player, cooperation, goofing off, not being serious, but also having difficult challenges to face as a team together.
I need to try this.
Imagine someone coming into your game to attack you, or so you think, but then you just start
But instead-
hearing, hello, hello.
What?
Very good. And then they drop you a weapon that they've maximized to like the highest possible like level, and then just leave.
Yes.
That sounds
happens.
so nice.
Yeah.
That never
Dark
happened
Souls
to me.
is
Didn't you
the-
get killed a lot?
Very much so.
Yeah.
The thing,
Dark Souls is a game that player-to-player interactions just take on such a just weird, chaotic element that you never truly know what's going to happen.
Gonna happen?
It's like 9 times out of 10 it'll go as you expect, and then that 1 out of 10 time, your mind is going to be blown because people are just willing to be weird and crazy in that game, and it's fun.
Nice.
and as the game ages, what you're going to get now are the people that love Dark Souls playing, not the person that picked it up and is playing
Right.
through it and whatever.
So, yeah, the community gets better as it ages. It's like a fine wine in that sense.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, and then my second game I'd have to say would be Splatoon 2. Just because I've played the crap out of it.
That's a fun game.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And it's like, it feels, the matches are short enough to where I feel like, and you get kind of a different experience every time, so that it's like a quick, you could play for a little bit or you could play for a long time, and I don't know, it's just convenient and fun. So
And that teamwork again.
right, and of course the teamwork, and it helps with my OCD of like getting everything painted.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's weird.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah,
That
it
is
is.
the
Covering
game
everything in
that
your
is
color.
for OCD people,
I know,
so to speak.
Yeah,
Like your map covering that you talked about before with like not Skyrim, but like games that
Yeah.
you uncover the map.
exactly.
Yeah.
I have to like 100% it, otherwise it like it drives me nuts. Like I have to
Completionist.
search everything.
Does it break your heart kind of in Splatoon 2 specifically, where when you win matches you beat out the baby cat? I can't think of his name.
Oh,
Oh yeah, like the little yeah.
I can't think of the
know.
cat's name, but the cat
Yeah.
junior.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
Lizzie,
it's
Nope, he's a bad guy.
you mentioned one time too that you wished that when you were on the losing team, like your characters wouldn't like freak out about losing so much.
yeah, like that's one thing that I don't know. So like I wish they wouldn't like, because basically my character like throws a tantrum whenever we lose, and
Hey,
it's
man,
like
just change
I
guns.
feel like this is not a good thing to be portraying to kids who lose.
It's a terrible example.
Yeah, like
Try
I'm
and
like
throw a
they should
fit
be
when you
like
lose.
yeah, they should be, like a little bummed, like maybe they could shake their head or something, but they don't
should
have to
be
be like
sad-faced.
screaming because my
Yeah.
character
Like,
literally
throwing their guns down.
screams. Like, it's like okay.
Do kids play Splatoon 2?
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
No.
Kids
Say.
are not welcome on Splatoon.
But yeah, I feel like it's a little over the top. Like, I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't make it so that like they act like their life is over when they lose, basically. And I feel like that's not something we should encourage, kids to act like, Like you win some, you lose some. It doesn't always have to be.
No, that's the type of lesson that the dad who wants his son to become a professional baller teaches him. Son, losing is agony. Do you want to cry like that squid kid? No, you don't. And that's why we practice.
Motivation.
Yes.
LeVar Ball actually taught his kid how to play basketball in Splatoon 2.
Oh man.
I do like Splatoon 2 too. And the only thing I wish is that you could drop out in the lobby. And Cookie and I were kind of talking about this before.
Oh yeah,
because
their
you have
lobby
8
systems.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times their teams aren't very balanced. But
True.
You have 8 people, so 4 per team, and then you queue up before each match, but then you can't drop out before the match starts.
Right.
So it turns out a lot of time that like one player won't play, and then that super affects the game. Like if you don't have a person playing, you're gonna lose.
Then it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I wish like you and me could be on a team. Like we could say we want to be together,
Right.
but the lobby system doesn't. It's random.
You just gotta form your party using the standalone app so you guys can chat with each other. I don't think it works that way. I'm messing with you.
That's still a science that people are trying to
trying
to figure out exactly what the app does.
Oh my gosh.
I actually don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure that app works well enough, and I'm sure it's intuitive. And please send your check to my address. Nintendo.
They did just update to where you can in between matches you can change your weapon out, which you used
That's
to not
really
be
nice.
able to.
Yeah, because
so
then you have to drop out totally. To
yeah,
Yep, that
and
was
then
a
we'd have
thing.
to like try and join back up and all that. Jazz.
Nintendo was like, how do multiplayer shooter games work?
Oh.
Apparently haven't been watching.
They don't have guns in Japan. They have nothing to model it off of. If I have to sacrifice guns to have a less violent society with fun, innovative games, I don't know what I'll do.
Screw that.
That's why I'm excited for 2018's Game of the Year, Far Cry 5, shooting Montanans. Literally going to get my road rage out in that game.
Oh, God, I think we're all. I think I'm gonna just get that game just for you, Scott.
You really should. If you want to treat yourself to a site that I don't think is really that uncommon, but gives you an idea what I'm dealing with drivers out here, if you go to the r/Missoula subreddit, there's a picture up there right now of people parking on top of one of the parking garages downtown. And it's just all bad news. It looks like a maze, but it's really just supposed to be parked cars.
There's not even that many people there. How can there be such bad road rage?
Well, it's more like everybody's a bad driver, and therefore you don't need that many to really muck things up.
That sucks.
And I should clarify that the good drivers are all the people who do it commercially. Like if you see any trucks or other vehicles where driving is part of a person's job, they're normally exceptionally good. Like they're normally very good at their job. And then civilians are just like insane.
Is it because there's not that many
people?
people that they feel like they can do whatever they want?
I think so.
I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you what fosters the like reckless mentality that some of these drivers have.
Oh man.
I think that is.
Maybe the population's so low because we have so many reckless drivers. And,
Oh no.
slick roads near mountains. So
Oh wow.
that could be part of it.
I think that is one thing, Lizzie, like out in western Nebraska, like people just aren't used to driving by other people. So they just like freak out when they have to and just make terrible decisions.
Or those people that hang out in the left lane. I'm looking
Yeah,
at you,
it's-
left laners. Oh my
God,
God,
that's
they
on
kill
to
me.
get this big into like traffic and driving, but Omaha, truly Nebraska is one of the worst places for people using the left lane.
I
as just another lane
know.
and not a
Yep.
passing lane.
It's like seriously annoying.
If you go to Chicago and you're in the left lane and you're not passing, they will just murder you. They'll just run,
Yeah, for
they'll
real.
run you right off the road with their car. I had a 70-year-old grandma like try and run me off the road because I wasn't moving fast enough. I was just like, all right, lady, I respect your space. I'm getting out of the way.
Oh, nice.
They don't have a ton of patience over there.
Well, not
And-
even try and signal to people in the left lane, like, I want to pass you. And
they're
like,
just
they're
standing.
just clueless. I'm like, oh my God, you're an idiot.
Why is this lady flashing her lights at me?
Yes.
Or they'll call the police and say that you were driving recklessly.
True story.
Really?
Yeah. I got pulled over.
Yep.
Because I was
All right.
trying to tell them to fucking move.
Wait, hold on. Was Cookie in the car?
No, I was by myself. I know. If Cookie was in the car, I don't probably
Be
I must be
arrested.
more nervous.
So this is before
the
they were
old-
shooting black people. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh.
Sure, it was a
Before?
couple of years ago. Well, yeah. Before it was.
Before they were shooting
On
black
social
people, they were
media, I
using
guess.
other weapons.
Yeah.
Gunpowder had not
World.
existed yet.
Yeah.
Neil, are you the last person?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just about to say. Speaking of shooting black people, what have you been playing this year,
Yeah,
Neil?
Neil, what are you up
Speaking
to?
of, good transition.
Well, Resident
your-
Evil 4? No, 5. 5.
Resident
Was it
Evil
5?
Oh, yeah.
I was at 6.
Yeah, 5 was in Africa,
Okay, it
Yeah.
was 5.
4 is about shooting Spaniards.
Oh, that's
which
what it
nobody
was.
cares about.
So I'm not going to get too deep in any of these games because I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about it later, i.e. tomorrow. I was having like this big inner conflict over whether or not Persona 5 would be my top game of the year or near Automata or Automata or whatever. Amananapia.
Mama, no.
Scott, you described it perfectly when you were talking about a game filling you with hope. Ultimately, like, Persona 5 made me feel good to, like, exist in a world as fucked up as ours because I had at least some semblance of hope that things could get better. And it's a video game, so, like, who am I kidding, actually?
You'll never see it coming.
But Nier Automata is just like this magical experience that has amazing gameplay. The third game on my list would be Danganronpa V3, and I can't say much about this since Cookie's playing through the first one. But I'll just say that this game has like following this whole like feeling or desire to feel hope. That's a key theme in this series. It's basically the characters get put into a situation full of despair and they have to find their own personal hope or whatever, their collective hope in order to overcome that tragic situation. But so DRV3 is it's kind of like Ace Attorney, if you've heard of that game before, where it's trial based. But there's
Right.
also like a visual novel element to it. So you get to learn all about your characters. The mini games within it aren't very good. There's a lot of flaws to the game, but ultimately,
They killed my waifu. Just like immediately.
yep.
Just like, they're like, hey, this is a good person for you to hang out with. She dead now. God damn it. I even spent money on that girl.
Oh, you bought presents.
And
see.
gave her one and was like, yeah, you gonna love me.
Wow.
And then she was dead. And then she died.
So the thing about these three games though is that like I was driven to play them and I could not stop playing them. Why I don't have Breath of the Wild on my list, which is a game that just yesterday I just picked up again and I had a lot of fun. It's like if Skyrim could just be like Breath of the Wild, it would be a great game. But
Is Skyrim just on the Switch?
well, I mean,
It
now
is,
Skyrim
isn't it?
is on the Switch
Yeah.
and it's bad.
It is bad.
I'm not hearing good things about it.
Not hearing good things about Skyrim ever now. But it's an amazing game. It's just that like I'm not as driven to play through the story like I was Twilight Princess or Wind Waker especially. Those games like were able to connect to me on like a human level, and I don't find that as much in Breath of the Wild. But I also like will admit I have not gotten that far into Zelda's like development either. But these three games present you with a story and a narrative and give you a reason to care, and also present you with, in certain cases with like moral dilemmas. And I think that just these three games had stories that compelled me to keep playing them. And I think that's maybe like the most important thing about single player games for me, feeling compelled
Story.
to move forward through the story. And ultimately, if it fills me with hope at the end, then like that's what I want and that's what I need. So I think that caps it up for the 5 of us, though. I don't know how to transition into this future cut where we have 4 other different people.
We can all do that at the same time, and it works.
Could.
Then you just do the cheap little wash effect.
Yeah, so keep watching. We're going to have a few other people on. Thanks for listening. Liz, thanks for joining us. Cookie, thank you. Ray, good to have you back on. It's been like 20 episodes or something since we've...
It's been a long
Probably, yeah.
time. Yep.
Scott, yeah. Montana.
What?
hey.
You're not going to thank me? I'm sacrificing life and limb here to be in my ice box of a recording room.
Hey, man, you got all that practice with the long dark. Ooh, why wasn't that on your list?
I know. I was wondering.
Because it became
Because
garbage.
single player.
Lizzie, it got so garbage.
Did it?
They followed, what is it? I think it's Stephen King's rule.
What'd they
like
do?
always kill your darlings, but instead of killing their darlings, they killed mine.
Wow.
What did they do, Lizzie? They took a truly wonderful sandbox game and released a single player experience for it that made me feel so bad that I couldn't go back to playing the sandbox.
Oh,
without
no.
Getting like trauma from playing the single player experience.
Oh,
again.
no.
I'm glad that you feel the same way, Scott.
I
Like,
think I remember you talking about that. Was that the one where you would do quests for that grandma that would like take all your
That's
food?
right.
And like, yeah, I remember that.
The gray mother.
Wait, Ray, do you
The
listen to
grandpa?
podcasts?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
I was in that podcast. And I don't even remember that part.
That's so funny.
The blind grandma that somehow can fend for herself.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
She
I
can't
don't-
though, and that's why I'm running around in the cold, half naked, like trying to get her enough wood and food to survive.
That's funny.
You look a little cold, Sonny. It's like, yeah, I've been running around getting you wood for your fire.
But then you abandoned her anyways, so she's dead.
Well, she is like, she sends you away, right? Something like that.
Yeah, she gives you her, I believe, her daughter's possessions to like descend from a cliff face to get to the next crappy part of the game. And really, like when the rope breaks and you fall down, I was already at the point where I was like, I hope I break my neck. The
Wow.
Long Dark, biggest disappointment. Absolver has nothing on that.
No, I'll give you that. Neil, what was your most disappointing game this year?
Let me fact check whether this was out this year.
Is it even a game?
Oh, yeah, January 19th. Valkyria Revolution.
Were you excited
Oh,
for that
yeah.
game?
Yeah, because it had Chrono Trigger's
was-
composer.
That was
Itsuda.
the sequel to Valkyria Chronicles, right?
Well, it's a spin-off, I guess you could say. I think it's
Okay.
a separate
it's within
universe.
the universe.
It was just not good. It's like an action RPG, except so you're expecting Bayonetta style gameplay or near gameplay or something, and what it feels like is they took an MMO and took the gameplay from that, like a Final Fantasy 14 or something, which like those games obviously feel clunky because they have like a turn-based battle system hidden behind hidden in the background, but that's what it felt like. It just didn't feel like you were actually swinging a sword around. And then it like the entire cast and characters all felt like they were just pandering. I don't know.
Fair enough. You didn't have to say that much about it. It was a disappointment for you.
Yeah.
Did you have any disappointing games, Lizzie?
She
didn't play anything.
Remind me what all we played.
I don't fucking know.
I know. I have one, so you can think about it.
Okay.
1-2 Switch was a little disappointing for me.
But you got to milk cows.
Yeah, that
It's
makes it
very
worth it.
awkward, strange. Yes.
You got to go a little bit faster
Like-
than you think. Just a little bit faster than you think.
Oh man.
Right. I mean, it was fun. It is a fun kind of goofy game. I laughed with some friends playing it, but I think I played it in total 3 times. And then
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm
Well,
done
like
with this.
when the Wii first came out and all their like little mini games with the
boxing
motion
and
and stuff,
bowling
like
and
we would
stuff.
play the crap out of those.
Yeah, those were super fun. And then this one was just not very impressive. Like the
Yeah.
mini games were just like some of them were just odd and like didn't I guess have like a really a goal feel because they were also over
Right.
pretty quick.
Right.
Maybe.
Which I feel like the bowling and boxing kind of did more. so.
Right. More long.
Do you think Luke Skywalker did the milk game?
I don't know. I mean, he got a lot of milk from that thing, but it seems.
Okay, our house is trying to kill us now. So we
Why?
should wrap up.
Fucking cold.
Oh yeah. Sorry, our house gets cold when it's like bedtime.
Like maybe 20 minutes ago, I realized I was like shivering. Oh man.
Got a blanket, like.
So,
Welcome
yeah.
to my world, ladies and gentlemen.
So since Neil has to pack up still, we'll end
Okay.
it there.
Yep. Stick around. You'll have more if you're watching or listening.
Also, let us know what your game of the year was.
Ooh, look at her.
Wow.
We should
Oh.
have
Breaking
her
the
on more.
fourth wall.
Should have her on more often.
Common. Wait, what is that? When you're participation, listener participation?
Sure.
Yeah.
You guys have email and stuff, right? I mean, I know I heard you talk about like people's comments. and
Just
stuff
don't ask
before.
Cookie and I to tell you the email. Get it backwards. But it is
Podcast at
podcast at
fancyramen.com.
fancyramen.com.
We both got it right today.
Nice
Yay.
I would
work.
high five you if I could.
Surrogate high five.
Yay.
Thank you,
Got you
Ray.
covered.
Okay, anyway, stay tuned.
Bye.
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 I miss you, Scott.